So welcome. I'm here to welcome you all to the MTN Career Series, where we help aspiring professionals and entrepreneurs gain better insight and knowledge on their chosen career paths. So today we have teamed up with Jobberman to teach you how to tailor your CV for that big next job that we're all aspiring for. This is going to be a very practical session, working with Hilda, the Managing Director, Jobberman. You're welcome, Hilda. And we're super excited about the value you all get today. Thank you for registering and participating. Please do follow us on our LinkedIn page, which is MTN Nigeria, for more of this. Thank you very much, everyone. You're welcome once again.
Thank you. Should I go ahead?
Yes, please, Hilda. Please go ahead. Thank you for joining us today. We're happy to have you.
You too. Thank you so much for everybody who's joined. Let me just quickly share my screen and make sure I'm on the right page for sharing it. Yes. Can you all see my screen? I'll assume the answer is yes. So just a bit about me before we start. So my name is Hilda Kapshenga-Parga. I am Ugandan. I'll start my video so you can see my face. I'm Ugandan, born and raised, but moved to Nigeria in 2015 and eventually married a Nigerian. So I'm what they call a Niger wife. That's our official terminology, by the way. I've been working in the job space for a while now, first as a consultant, but now as first CEO of Jobberman and now the head of Rome Africa Jobs, which runs the largest career platforms across Africa. So as you can imagine, I see a lot of CVs, but even for myself, I've been a job seeker before at multiple stages of my life. And I've seen how my own CV has evolved as I've gotten more knowledge about it, as I've gotten more experience. And I know that in the audience, it's probably going to be different types of people. So early stage career, mid stage career, later stage career like mine, like where I am, for example, right now. And I'm going to try as we go along to make sure I accommodate all those three, because your CV looks different at every single stage, right? There gets to the point where people don't even look for you you don't even have to apply for jobs, people look for you. And your CV at that point looks very different from in the beginning when you have no real work experience. I think at every single stage, it's still possible to build a very stellar resume or CV. It's just about knowing the right elements and how you begin to couch that. So I think if there's any questions, I know there's a Q&A, please just put your questions in the comment box. We'll get to them at the end of the session. If it's super urgent, I'll ask that one of the moderators help me because I can't do both things. But without further ado, just dig into it. So first of all, what is a CV? I think, or a resume. I think a lot of time people think that I'm going to use the term CV and resume interchangeably. I don't be put for it. I think a lot of the time people assume that it's a summary of your academics and work history. So you just go and list down, this is what I did, this is what I did, this is what I did. And you think that's enough, but that's really not true. That's really underselling yourself. I mean, technically speaking, an employer doesn't even need you to find out about your academics and work history, right? They can find that in public sources. So when you think about a CV, think about it as beyond just this summary of academics, summary of work. It's a lot more than that. And what is this? So it's, for me, a CV is essentially a personal advertisement that helps you to sell yourself to an employer. Think about it as the same way, and I use MTN because they're right here, right? Every single time you want to find out about, the latest offering that MTN has, let's say for data, you don't have to really struggle to understand it, because everywhere you look around on billboards, on your phone, on YouTube, it's going to be in front of you. Like as an organization, they're selling yourself to you and saying, hey, we've got the best offer. So your CV is your own personal advert. It's your personal brand wrapped up in a bow of 1 or 2 pages, ideally not more than that, that says, hey guys, I am your person. And it's a depiction of multiple things. One, there's your personality. I think we tend to think that CVs have to be extremely clean and scientific, but no, that's why there's a part for hobbies and things like that. So your personality needs to come out, even your writing style comes out inevitably. Your background, educational background, even geographical background, wherever you lived, wherever you worked, and your job as well. But beyond that, your capabilities. I think beyond just this is what I did, it's more, what did I learn? What skills do I have? Especially as we think about the world today and the way jobs are changing and you want to change careers, it's very important that your transferable capabilities and transferable skills come out in your CV, such that any employer who sees it can know, oh, it's easy to say, I was responsible for, marketing campaigns. You could have been terrible at that responsibility. We'll get back to that a bit later. but being able to say like, I know how to do this, like I accomplished XYZ campaigns, I deployed a digital campaign, that shows your capabilities, and that's what's transferable. So when you're coming from one job to another, it's important that CVs, or even from an educational institution to the workplace, it's important that whoever's looking at the CV can really understand that, yes, this person's skills and capabilities, they're not unique to the current environment, they're not responsibilities they're good at. I can see these capabilities and say, this is how they can be applied in my own organization. That's one thing a CV does for you. The other thing is your accomplishments. So what have you done? What have you accomplished? This could be, and even people who don't have work experience, like, I've not accomplished anything. You have. This is why, first of all, extracurricular activities are super important in school, because that's you led a team, you executed on a project, all the things you've done, even academically, you have academic accomplishments where you're on the dean's list, you get a first class or two, and whatever it is, all of the accomplishments need to come out, both in the workplace and not in the workplace. And if you have other things you do, because some people are legit like polymaths and they do 1,000 things at a go, you bring that out as well. You started a foundation, you started a small community project, you've been volunteering as a teacher, all those things that you've done can get into that section as well. Then finally, if actually a CV highlights your organizational skills and sense of quality, I know this is a tough one for most of us. Not everybody is born a natural organizer. And that's why I'd recommend when you're done with the CV eventually, you really, really need to get other people to look at it. CVs with typos, CVs that are not aligned, CVs that are kind of like the chronology is not correct. That's actually a reflection on you. If a recruiter is looking at your CV and it's easy for them to read, the flow is on point, the fonts are all aligned, there's no typos, everything, it's very obvious that you are a person of quality, you're highly organized, and that already supports, helps them to make a decision about whether they look for them to you. I think lots of people know this, or maybe you don't. In actual sense, most recruiters spend maximum 10-15 seconds on a CV. Because when you put up a job, when you put out an advert for a job, you don't get one application, you don't even get two. In Nigeria, you don't even get 10, you get hundreds. So imagine somebody an 8-hour day trying to go through 300 applications. They're not going to spend that much time reading through what you've written. So it needs to be very organized, very like high quality, very crisp and concise. Like try and like edit, go through whatever you do like 5 times to make sure you use the minimum number of words, that every single word in your CV serves a job, and that it's well organized and it's neat. When you start seeing typos in the first line of a CV, automatically in your 10 seconds, just put that down. Like, why are you wasting time? So that's another thing that a CV does. So in terms of selling yourself, all these things matter. It's not just your education and your work background. And this is just one last thing I found, which I think is super helpful. So essentially a resume. So typically there's many sections of it. And again, depending on your work, on your level of experience, going to be different, your objectives. So typically I say, objective personal statement, early stage is important. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to learn? How do you see this job is going to help you? Not to help you, but how do you think this role can help you? That's something great to think about internally, but present it, your objective is to be, an executive in the HR space or whatever. Later on, and I'll share it a bit because we're going to break down the different sections of the CV. But later on, it changes. At my stage, for example, it's not that important for me to talk about my objectives. I mean, it's very clear. I've spent 10 years in this space and an MD in this space. If I have a different objective than continue to grow in this space, then wow. Or it should be a bit more clear. But then talk about like your actual, your professional summary. What have you done till now? If to summarize your career to date. So as you grow older, not older, but as you mature in your career journey, this changes from setting objectives to your accomplishments so far, a summary of your career so far. And that's super important. Your personal details, people need to know this, even just for demographics' sake. Are you married? How old are you? Where are you from? Where do you live? I think as the world is getting more secular, some things not so important. Very few people I know in Nigeria, it's still important to put things like states, maybe religion sometimes, maybe not. A marital status, yes, sometimes not. Different organizations have different requirements for this. Educational qualifications, always important, but you don't have to index. Like I keep seeing resumes like, somebody with 8 years of experience and they're still talking about the high school they went to. At this stage, nobody cares where you went to high school. Let's be honest. Earlier on, it could be a consideration, but after you've worked in 2 or 3 jobs, it really isn't. Your technical qualifications, if you've done like certain skills like ACCA, for example, or like CPMA, there's a number of technical qualifications you can do that take you there. Your core competencies, your skills and areas of expertise, achievement and references. So I think we should have all of these. And yes, in 1 or 2 pages. So we're not asking for long paragraphs, on this space. So basically, I'm using my own CV here. So we can go through, and if you've got your own CV, I'd invite you to kind of like just open it up and also reflect through this. So at my stage, again, I don't speak to objectives. I think earlier on I used to. What did I want to do? At one point, I was trying to, be like the most experienced tax advisor ever. You'll see that a bit later. Or you talk about like your concrete goals. Think about what you want to accomplish, what you want to learn, what you have fun of trying to bring to the table. I think a lot of the time, like the CV has to be structured as what will I contribute, not what will I get. So at my stage, for example, where I have more than 10 years of experience, I speak about my qualification summary. What makes me feel that I'm qualified for this job I'm doing my CV in for. So I've operated, I've done management consulting, I've in digital technologies, 3 years managing actual P&Ls, which is like a profit and loss. It's something like if you're CEO in that position, you understand, but maybe not, if you didn't be 3 years managing teams or 3 years as a team contributor in this space or managing stakeholders, because even when you're a team contributor, you do manage external stakeholders. So think about all your qualifications from every single thing you've done. What expertise do you have? I'm talking about management expertise, but it could be product development expertise. It could be talent acquisition expertise. It could be marketing campaign expertise, field marketing expertise, sales expertise. Whatever stage you are, there is some sort of expertise you bring to the table. People management, if you've not managed people, you can say you collaborate well with people, you work well with stakeholders, team building, leadership skills, strategic thinking, whatever it is that you have. The qualification summary kind of takes the highlights or the strengths of all these qualifications, not necessarily qualifications, strengths and skills you've gotten from all your jobs so far, or your roles or your opportunities so far, and package them in the beginning. If you're an early stage where this is like more of objectives, what do you want to accomplish? You can just link that to your education, to anything you've done, and what you're trying to accomplish going forward. That can still be concise. So as you can see, this is for me pretty much a quarter of the page, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet points, and even that is too many. I think when some colleagues would tell me to bring it down to only 5 bullet points. If you're earlier stage, it can be 3. But that's pretty much the beginning. So showcasing your personal statements, your qualifications, it's the focus here is in your strengths and your goals and your skills and all the things you have that you bring to the table. Again, remember, if somebody has only 12 minutes, this is what they're going to see. So even don't be tempted to start with, a whole 1-pager of your education experience. I think that the general trend now these days is to make sure that goes at the bottom. Maybe if your early stage career, it should be at the top because they're going to consider university education a lot more. But the more experienced you are, the less important this becomes. So you can kind of push it down. So for me, for example, when you look at my CV, this is the first thing you see. Like after my name at the top, boom, the next thing is qualification summary. Because already I know a recruiter might not get to the bottom of it, but just from looking at this, they can know I'm a CEO, I've led businesses, I've managed a profit and loss, I've led teams, I'm a strategic thinker, I'm really positioning myself, even if they don't see anything else except these 6 bullet points, I probably stand a chance. And you should try to position yourself that way. This is almost like your elevator pitch. The whole CV is an elevator pitch, but this qualification summary, objective summary is the elevator pitch inside the elevator pitch. The next thing is work experience. And here my key, so I'm using my very first job, but here my key is to focus on achievements and not responsibilities. And I always use like a very basic terminology, basic analogy for this. A lot of us grew up with single moms, or we all know people who grew up with one parent. And the thing is, the other parent was also responsible for the children, but they didn't live up to their responsibility. So responsibility in the CV do not tell an employer anything because they don't know if you're good at your responsibilities and if you did them, or if you were not good and you didn't do them. So focus on achievements. What did you do? What did you accomplish? And no matter your role, if you can break it down, even if you're just a team contributor, early stage, entry level, you had accomplishments. The way work operates that you're given tasks and you can fulfill those tasks either well or not well. If you are an analyst, what was your work stream? What did you accomplish? If what was the result? If you're part of a project, what did your contribution result in? Like with what I'm talking about here, I wasn't necessarily, like the manager on the job, but I knew that the work we did led to growing revenue by 30%. I know we decreased tax liability on 40% for multinationals. Try and quantify these things, right? Employers want to know that, boom, you had impact. It could be something simple as an internal process, right, that you execute, maybe for leave approvals in organizations, an HR analyst, and the leave approval was previously taking 2 weeks and you brought it down to 2 days. You can quantify that. It could be even something as smooth as, launching a staff bus system, if that's your small area. It could be meeting your targets. Let's say your field sales agent, your sales agent, you met your targets, smashed them, met 120% of my targets. Don't say things like responsible for bringing in new clients, because the question will remain, did you bring them in or did you not bring them in? So think about it, brought in 15 new clients for the business line that contributed X, Y, Z in revenue. If you're don't understand the revenue, if you don't know the revenue bit yet because you're not quite there, then you just speak to brought in 15 new clients. Because that's something a recruiter can look to and say, yes, this person did their job. If you say responsible for bringing in new customers, you could have been responsible, but you brought in 0. So try and quantify what you actually accomplished in that job. And I know sometimes even undersell our accomplishments. So what I'd recommend is that sit down before you start writing your resume and think about all the different things you did, all your tasks, all your responsibilities. What was the end goal? Say, okay, what was the instruction? What did you do? What was the process there? What was the end goal? If you can link 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, then you have your nice little one-liner. You were part of the team that launched XYZ product and led to 20% adoption in the first 3 months. There's many of those. Even in school, when you have responsibilities in university, I'm just doing this for people who might be still in university and soon graduating. When you have group projects, what was your role there? What did you accomplish? When you're working for clubs and things like that, what was your role? What did you accomplish? We kind of tend to overlook that. Even unpaid internships, or even how work in the home, right? A lot of us grew up, for example, in homes where your parents are running a shop. So you're there learning accounting skills, you're learning inventory management skills, you're learning customer management skills, but you underlook that experience because you think this is not necessarily professional or whatever, but you've learned real skills there. And I think you can package them to show that this is a skill that you've learned, and it's still relevant, If I know that you've been managing 100 customers a day simply by being in your mom's shop or in your dad's shop, that is a lot of experience, because lots of people cannot manage customers like that on a day-to-day basis. So don't overlook the experience. Look backward and say, all the things I've done in my adult life, which of these have I learned practical, transferable skills, and then spend some time thinking about how do I package them such that they can be reflected on my CV as an area of strength. Yeah. And this is replicated. If you work in a project environment, then maybe don't just speak about the company, speak about every individual project, step by step. In this project, I was this, I contributed this, I learned, not learned this, but drove learnings. The other thing here is to think about words, right? I think nobody wants to see replicated words all the time in a CV, but that's why we have things like a thesaurus, right? Go on Google and say alternative words for build, alternative word for develop, alternative word for deploy, and make sure that you're using power words, like really power words that speak to what you did or what you accomplished. And also, more importantly, focus on your own role. So if it was a group activity, don't talk about what other people did, focus on what you did, what your area of responsibility was, and how you contributed to the overall goal, right? As you get more and more advanced and you're less of a contributor and more of the driver, then you speak about what you drove and how you coordinate the team, etc. But the focus must always remain on your achievements and not your responsibilities. Remember, people abandon their responsibilities all the time. So responsibilities tell us nothing. What you achieved, what you accomplished, what capabilities you deployed, what visible, what tangible proof is there of the work you did, right? Like if somebody's going to that organization and say, hey, what did Hilda do? It should be very, very clear, as opposed to what was Hilda responsible for? Because they'll say Hilda was responsible for X, Y, Z, but nothing happened. So that's something you really have to bear in mind. Then finally, for the personal details, so I was trying to keep this really short so that we can get right into the Q&A. For the personal details, show off your personality, but keep it professional. So like I don't have much in my personal details because I was running out of space. Education is a one-liner, university is a one-liner, languages, you can add your hobbies. Maybe I should add my hobbies, feedback for me. If you're in early stage, again, like with education, you need a bit more. Employers kind of, not so much these days anymore, to be honest, what the class of degree you had or the exact field it was in. A bit of those details might be important, but to be honest, especially in a post-COVID world, where things have become a lot more fluid and remote jobs are common, it might not be that important, but put it just in case. Put everything else you've done. Like I've not done much in my life, right? If you have like a series of courses from Coursera, or you've got technical skills, or you've done all these things, put them in there as well. but keep it concise. The bulk of your CV really, if I think about how you split the time, so my CV is actually 1 page long, believe it or not, and I'm happy to show it to you just so you can believe it. The bulk of it goes to my accomplishments in my workspace. I've got a little of a personal summary at the top, and I've got this little for the, which also, like you can see, this like a quarter of the page for my personal section. But essentially, from top to bottom, I would say 1/5 at the personal summary, 1/5 down here, and 3/5 are being spent really on the personal experience. So I'd recommend that you do that. Of course, again, if you are just graduating from university, undergrad level, and you've not had a job before, maybe you've had internships, you've had these placements, then it makes more sense to spend time there because you're still going to flesh out all the things you did while in university. But if the more experience you get, the less these things matter, and the more your actual accomplishments in the workplace matter. If you have 8 years experience, even 5 years experience and above, honestly, people care more about what you've done in the jobs you've had so far than where you went to school or other things like that. And I think this is it from me. I will take a break now to get questions. We can go through this again a bit later, but for now, happy to take questions. Please type your questions in the chat box, or raise your hand. I can't see any. What is it? Q&A. Okay, if starting out in a field like accounting and finance without much experience, how would one phrase an adjective that shows interest in various fields like audit, tax, etc.? So I think what I would want to ask, first of all, is it like, are you fresh? Did you study it in school or not? If you studied it in school, then it's quite straightforward because you say you'd like to apply, it goes to apply practically the skills you've learned in your education institution. If you're trying to change careers, then you actually have to show some sort of link to say, you've been maybe adjacent to this field and I would like to get into. How you phrase it, I think that's something you're going to have to think through, but you have to talk about your interest in the way organization businesses work, the interest in the way economics work in the business, the way you keep a company afloat, and all the things it takes to run a prudent organization. I really can't come up with a phrase for you on the spot, especially because it's actually not one of my fields of expertise. It's easier, again, if you've studied it in university or done a course like CPA and you're looking to apply practically the theoretical skills you've learned, or if you've been working in an adjacent skill, and you want to move, and you can show clearly the connection between what you've been doing before and what you want to do now. How far back do you recommend one goes with their work experience? For me, up to now, I still go back to the beginning. And I've looked at a CV of somebody with over 20 years experience and still go back to the beginning. I think the question is, how much detail do you put? So for example, it could, if you have 15 years of experience and you're like, 8, 7, even 6 jobs since the beginning, or 12 roles, because each job you also move. What I'd recommend is that for the places where it's really basic, like your very first job, it's just a one-liner. For now, for example, even though I still put my very first experience, I don't put internships anymore. So like I had before the KPMG job I shared, I had an internship. I don't put that anymore. I don't put small things in between because I'm trying to create space. So also think about what is impactful. Sometimes it could be that an early stage job is impactful or not CV because of the skills that you learn from there. Sometimes it's not, but tailor your CV depending on what you want. That's another thing I think we should touch on a bit. Don't have a blanket CV sent everywhere. Tailor your CV. For example, I have a consulting CV that focuses more on like my management and Big Four consulting experience. I have an HR CV that focuses a lot more on like what I do today. And I've got a tech CV that focuses on my tech skills, right? So even with you, looking at all the transferable skills you have, think about how they apply practically. If you have a job you did, like I just shared my consulting CV, I'll always put KPMG from 12 years ago, because it's important to consulting firm, it's a good consulting firm. Those skills would be important in my consulting CV. If I was doing my HR CV, I might leave it out. So I think up to you, depending on who you're targeting and what role you're trying to apply for, the organization, and how those skills or accomplishments you learned in that place serve you at the time. Can we get the recorded version? I think that's the MTN team. Must all CVs follow this pattern? So I think there's probably 2 or 3 globally approved CV standards out there. The one I shared is one of them. There's others as well, but for me, what I've found is that this is the most impactful, the place where you start with your summary, you get into your experience, and end with your education, etc. You could start with education. The reason that one is becoming a lot less popular is because, again, of the time people spend. You know, if I'm only spending 10 seconds and it takes me those 10 seconds to get to education, you might lose a chance. So your CV should always just get in the bang, like bang, bang, bang. This person is a banger. And that's why the other way around is getting a lot less popular over time. But there's at least 2 or 3 global standardized CV formats. Some of us, depending on educational background, you get into that global standard. Other people do not, which is why you still see a lot of CVs that talk about responsibilities. And that's just something the world has moved away from. But also find what works for you. You know, if you look at something that is clearly professional, there's also, like, depending on your field, different CVs. I know tech CVs look a bit different. I know creative sector CVs are very colorful. You know, graphic design CV is always literally filled with graphics. So all those small things and differences could be allowed for. But at the end of the day, make sure you're communicating all these. I think the one thing I'd say about following this pattern is what you're communicating. And to that extent, I'd say, yes, your CV should communicate all these things. How you do it, there's some flexibility there. For recent graduates applying for a job, how would you showcase accomplishments not having extracurricular activities or internships relevant to the role? In this case, you really can't, right? So I speak to your objectives, but also I'd encourage you guys, it's extremely hard to get beyond a CV review in a place you have no experience, and no extracurriculars. Go out there and put in the work, you know, learn. You can get free learning opportunities. Talk to your friends and say, hey, I'm happy to volunteer my time. Speak to organizations, charity organizations, especially NGOs, which don't even have salaries, but say, I'm trying to learn XYZ. I want to get in some practice. Go out there. It's also requesting a lot from a recruiter to look at your CV. You have no background, no extracurriculars, no volunteering, nothing, and you say, I want to do X. How do we believe you? Because remember, you're coming against hundreds or even thousands of people who have these things on their CV. So the part of getting a job, a huge part of getting a job is on you, and it's preparing yourself. If you want, like the person said, to get into tax and accounting, if you really want to find a way to get into, you know, first level ACCA, or go to your church, go to your mosque, go to your community and say, can I volunteer to do your books? Get on Coursera, get on YouTube. Learning these days is free. You know, some of us, like early stage millennials, when we were coming up, you had to pay a lot of money for education. Not anymore. Coursera is affordable. But in fact, Coursera is free if you don't want a certificate. So you don't have to pay for most of their courses. YouTube is free. Udemy, you know, 9,000 Naira a course. There's so many ways that you can get this experience. And once you get those skills that you learned, whether it's YouTube, whatever, go out into your community and say, hi, I have this skill, I want to volunteer my time. That is something that goes into your CV. The idea that you just show up and you have no accomplishments, no history, no background, and expect to take it seriously, that's also a bit unfair on recruiters, right? Because remember, from an employer's perspective, we're trying to get the best possible person for the role. The whole point around employees and employers, it's a relationship that drives workplace productivity. I'm not going to give you a chance to come in if I know you know 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and you've not even made the effort to try to get like an internship or something. Unless it's a graduate recruitment program, in which case it's all about your educational background most of the times. But even now that's changing. But it's very hard for me to say, okay, if I bring in this person, they're the ones that are going to improve my workplace productivity. I can't do that. And I've got other CVs of people that I know have already ramped up a bit, or have already done some practical skills, already have done some training, and I know they would get my organization to productivity even faster. The core there is what is going to drive workplace productivity. So if you want to show that you can, the place you as a person, first start with your own productivity, get the skills. It doesn't have to be extremely high level skills. It can be basic skills. Go into your community and find a place to apply them so that you can put that on your CV as something you've done. Hi, first of all, guys, thank you all the Ugandans who have joined. I'm so happy to see you. I didn't think there'll be so many. Thank you so much for the session. What advice would you give to somebody looking to switch roles within the same career, say switching from financial accounting to grants? For me, I think this is very simple because grants is literally, its core is financial accounting. What I would recommend is maybe do a short course on grant systems and grant management. Even it's about learning the software, like 2 or 3 softwares that are used for grant management, because they do have specialized software as well, things like Fluxwave, I think there are a bunch of others as well. And then just sort of applying for roles. If you can find a volunteer position in the meantime, If you can find a volunteer position in the meantime, that even well and good. But in this case, yours is quite useful. It's about networking. Get the right networks out. Keep communicating with people trying to go into the grant space. Go to LinkedIn, shape up your LinkedIn, show that you do have talk to for recruiters, this is what you're looking to do, and position yourself that way. I think yours is a bit simple because the same skill set. The thing that's missing is maybe a bit of the methodology. That's something you can get. Also get mentors in this space who can show you what they've been doing, what their own journey has been. And even if you first leg in the door, sometimes you might have to go a little bit backward in the sense that maybe get your manager somewhere. Now in a particular organization, you can only be like a senior associate. Maybe it's worth it for you. You decide the trade-offs. Is it good for a resume to have 3 pages of details for responsibility of 10 years experience? No. I do not know unless it's for a very particular reason where they've asked for a detailed 5-page curriculum. Even the most senior professionals I know, as I told you, CEOs of Global 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies, even those people can distill their experience to 1 or 2 pages max. If you're being crisp and concise and organized and focusing on your skills, etc., 2 pages, you can communicate 20 years of experience. Unless, again, you can ask for details. Sometimes organizations ask for a detailed CV, so you find it's a very long paragraph, everything you've done. This question is coming a lot of time. No, guys, it's not okay to have a resume that's more than 2 pages. Again, remember, 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds, even 2 pages is a stretch. 1 page, I'm sure for most people in this chat, you can have I have a 1-page CV, so I'm sure most people in this chat have a 1-page CV. If you ask for more information, you have a cover letter, fill in a cover letter. Your actual CV, it should be at least a page, maximum 2. More than 2 pages, even the president can have a 1 or 2-page version of the CV, I guarantee you. Straight out of university, pursuing ACCA, I haven't known which field would suit me best. I like what I based on what I learned in school, strategic business reporting. I think then follow that and see where it goes, right? ACCA already is it's a technical skill, which means that you become attracted to the accounting space. Unfortunately, it's also the kind of thing that locks you in. If you're investing in ACCA, you really have to go down that audit, accounting, tax path, at least initially, because you've locked yourself in by learning that technical skill and investing heavily in yourself. You have to get the return on investment. That's the thing about education and trade-offs, right? I know it's a bit of a variance. The saddest thing that can possibly happen is education that doesn't give you return on investment or ROI. So doing something to abandon it completely and not actually reaping its benefits is tough. You can do SCCA and start as an accountant and move on after that. Think about the industries you want, etc. But start with the biggest skill you have. Again, if you're just starting out, your biggest marketing point or your biggest asset is the actual skills you have. And in this case, yours is going to be accounting and auditing. How can a fresh graduate develop CV with 3 years of work experience? What have you done in school? Have you done co-curriculars? Have you been part of clubs in your school? Have you done volunteering? Guys, the sooner you get into this, the better. I think you think about people who leave high school and already start to look for things to do. They get a head start. It's extremely dangerous for you to be in university and only study. Look around the environment. There's things that need help, there's things that need doing. There's clubs that have been set up. There's professors that need research assistants. There's so much you can do. Go to your church. People are treasurers in their church. They lead entire sections. They lead youth development. They design design retreats and things like that. All that is opportunity for you to serve. And I think that's another thing, right? People think of jobs as like a privilege and here the job is for me. Look for opportunities to serve. Every single time you serve, you learn, you get skills. Opportunity to serve is what's going to get you there. If you don't have any CV, without previous work experience, you probably do. All these things you've done that right now you don't consider as work, it's actually work. Were you productive? Did you accomplish something? It's actually work. You stated that working experience should predominantly be channeled towards achievements and not responsibilities. Some organizations give more attention to responsibilities than achievements. What's your opinion on this? So responsibilities, as I said, if you structure it as responsibilities, nobody will know what you did. I can't think of any organization that would prefer to look at your responsibilities more than your achievements, because your achievements automatically speak to what you're responsible for, and they go a step further to say that you actually executed them to the best of your ability and it was good enough. That's why you achieved. If you just talk about responsibilities, what if you failed? I mean, at a very basic level, if your responsibility is to open the office every day, and you write in your CV, responsible for opening office every day, maybe you're always late and somebody opened it for you. I don't know. But if you say, so effectively ensured the office was open by 8 a.m. each day for 200 days in a row, That's an achievement. That means that yes, you were responsible for opening the office. And on top of that, you went ahead and made sure that office was open at the right time every day for a year. That's a lot more powerful than I was responsible for opening the office, because I don't know how many times you went time. And in a world where I'm looking at, in fact, forget even 10 to 12 seconds. Guys, these days, people doesn't look at CVs. It's a machine. It's an applicant tracking system. Just speaking to the way Jobberman works, for example, we have an applicant tracking system on the back end that can automatically, based off certain keywords, based off certain criteria, based on a number of things, filter the top people, the bottom people, the ones that match etc. So already the recruiter will only see the people that closest what they're looking for. So if you don't have that achievements piece, those words they're looking for of I actually did something, you might never even get the chance to get to a face-to-face. The maximum is a unique resume, 2. Thank you for the beautiful presentation. It was eye-opening. My question, is it professional if I stated all the companies I've worked with before including internship volunteer jobs, just so I can meet up with the years of experience required? Is it okay to modify the course I studied in my undergrad because the role doesn't really accept it? So yes, for the first one, first of all, internships and volunteer jobs are also work experience. Guys, work experience doesn't mean necessarily a paid job. I'm telling you, even the unpaid work you do for your parents, the family business is paid jobs. The clubs you run in school, that is a work experience. All that is work experience. Because remember, the focus here is also on the skills you learned. As long as you did something successfully and learned a certain skill, you can say that, you know, I was the treasurer of the Rotary Club in university. I managed a budget of 100,000 Naira. We successfully executed ABC. That's work experience, guys. That's especially in early stages. Don't discount that stuff. It's okay to modify the course, library information science. Honestly, it doesn't change either way. Because remember, when it's time to do the due diligence, at the end, nobody gets a job without reference checks. You have to still produce your papers, and your papers say library information science. Writing information science is fine because it's a subset of library. Don't lie. Don't say you did something you didn't do it. So then, if like maybe the field does not have library, it's fine to do that. Then break it down. As long as when they ask you for your paperwork, it's gonna be the same as what you said. I think you're fine. How does one tailor CV navigation from being an entrepreneur to HR? So first of all, I'd say, what are you doing HR roles when you're an entrepreneur? Were you managing people? Speak to that. Focus a lot on what people skills and people management skills and HR skills you developed while being an entrepreneur. 5-page resume for 3 years of experience and no. Guys, I think I've said this a number of times. I'll show you my CV at the end just so you can nail this. 3 years of experience, using the 5-page, unless it's been asked for, and even that is very rare. Typically, it's for projects. We want to understand in depth project by project. But sending to a CV, sending to a recruiter, also into a job platform or something like that, don't have a 5-page resume. Nobody's going to read it. Is it possible to build a CV without any mistake? No. I think for me, even my CV has mistakes. Even today, I saw another mistake. But I always love the 4I principle in the sense that if you're a very detailed person and you are calm and gentle, you could build it, right? Some of us are not. Some of us are always in a rush. But if you are like me, have a friend look at it. What I typically do is after I update my CV, I show it to my husband or I share it with a friend, somebody at work, and say, hey, can you quickly brief these through and just help me check the typos and alignment? And they do that, then I'll come back and I'll edit. So your CV is not, there's no non-disclosure agreement on your CV, right? No need to hide it. In fact, you're looking for a job, you want to go as many places as possible. So share with somebody, let them give you feedback as well. Maybe it'll help you remember something you didn't think about, and they'll check for your typos and corrections. It's very hard to build in the first time without mistakes. Talk about pivoting careers. How do you engage in the CV so recruiters are interested in, for example, moving to government to INGOs? I think in your CV, you have to really focus on transferable skills. What can you transfer? How is it applicable? But the actual communication happens with a cover letter. So when you apply for a job, have a cover letter that talks about your journey so far and why this is the right transition for you as the next stage of your career. Then in places like LinkedIn or your Brighton your Jobberman profile, talk about as well in your summary, right? So LinkedIn, for example, is focused about, you can speak to that. And then LinkedIn also has an option, and I think Jobberman as well as an option where you can talk about the kind of roles you want that you're looking for. So be very direct about looking for that. When I was moving from consulting to this tech role, I was very clear that I wanted to work on on talent development. Like I was very passionate about it. So be honest about what you want and let it be known as wide as possible. On your CV, focus on transferable skills. On a cover letter, talk about the actual transition and what you're interested in. And then the recruiters, if you have the opportunity to speak to a recruiter directly, tell them, hey, I'm trying to move into this role. This is what I want to do. These are my skills. Do you know any roles that are looking at this time? And then always apply in that space. If you're trying to get into INGOs, keep applying to INGOs. Don't be relentless about it. Don't be confused and start applying to other different jobs. Expend your time and energy in the space you want to go to. Go to networking events. Go to the whatever space you can find these people. Find them and communicate what you want to do, your transition to them. Working on certification, yes. If you're working on certification at some stages, yes, communicate the stages. CFA 1, complete. CFA 2, complete. Don't do the whole thing when you've not done it. Yeah. I want to know what job role is available for an individual with both IT and accounting experience in a multinational organization as MTN Nigeria in this context. So unfortunately, I don't work for MTN, so I can't really answer this. They probably have like a career page on their portal where you can check and see what kind of roles are available. I think it's also dependent on like your years of experience, what you've done before. I look for graduate recruitment. There's a lot in there that I really can't answer, but I hope I've pointed in the right direction. Different resumes, different experiences. I think, so as I mentioned earlier, slightly yes, right? In the sense that I tailor my skills to communicate depending on the target audience. So if it's tech, I focus on my tech skills. If it's consulting, my consulting skills. If it's the NGO world, my experience with grants. If it's the HR world, my experience in HR. So you can do that. If you don't have that many, then focus on skills and communicate how those skills are applicable in this space. Also useful on a cover letter. How can someone as a fresh graduate construct his own resume, no experience of work? So I've covered this extensively. I know this is being pre-recorded, so hopefully MTN will share it, but I won't go through it again. I hope that's okay. Okay, new messages. So I'm just trying to go through everything. Are references necessary? Yes, so references are necessary. I think as you get a bit more experience, you can always say references on request, but talk to your references beforehand. One of the most frustrating things for me is when I just get like requests for reviews. I'm like, who's this person now? So talk to your references beforehand. Talk about also what you want them to refer you to. I'm looking for this job. This is what's important, blah, 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 blah. You remember I did this. And then get references who can actually speak to your strengths. Sometimes it's more important to get somebody who really understands you and can vouch for you than a big name, right? A big name that barely knows you. Oh, Hilda's a nice person. You know, I've watched her grow. That's not important. I'd rather get a team lead who supervised you, who can say in detail, detail-oriented, she's a self-starter, she does all these great things. And if you're early stage, yes, include in your career. If you're not, your references and request, either way they'll request them. And when you do, make sure they're very, very ready. With the way things are going these days, for example, with all these, fraud and stuff, I personally do all my reference checks. Like I ask for the written one and I also do a video call. Like if I can't meet you, I want to look you in the eye and just know I'm hearing from your mouth. So that if this person turns out not to be what he told me to do, I can call you and be like, but we spoke. You said all these great things and I'm not saying it. Where was the misunderstanding, So make sure your references are very, very ready to chip in and vouch for you in a very strong way. I have 24 years post NYSC with varying work experience. How do I squeeze my experience on one page? You don't have to put all of it. The older it is, the less important. You can just put as this one line. The first 10 can be one line. Then the more important, or like for example, where you spent less than a year, you don't put that much. Where you spent a larger time, you put enough. Even in the most case scenario where you spend a lot of time, 5 bullet points should be enough to quantify experience. Think about it. What did you do around people? What did you do around process? What did you do around product or what was selling? What was like the core organization? Just those 3, people, process, product. If it's also like things like finance processes, HR processes, etc., you can come up with 2 points for each of those, and you're good. I think you get trapped in this whole I need to tell my whole story. No, you tell your story in a cover letter. A cover letter is not a CV. A CV is something that you can shop around. A cover letter is not custom tailored when you're doing an application that you then add on with more details. And even then, it can be 1 page. I don't think that you can do 2. So 24 years of experience, I assume 2 pages, but 1 to 2 pages max. Okay, I think this is it. Let me see if there's any more from the Q&A. No, this is it. I'm not sure if there's any more questions. Yeah. I believe I've answered everybody's questions so far. If there's any more, I'll just stay here for a while.
Hi, Ilda. I think 2 questions just popped in now.
So I can't quite hear you.
Can you hear me, Ilda? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Yeah, Ilda, I was saying I think 2 questions popped in now.
Okay. How helpful is this to get multinational jobs? I really don't know. I think you have to just speak to recruiters depending on your experience. I know that there's lots of people from accounting and this other background, but I really don't know. They typically for consultants. I don't want to get into LinkedIn, guys. I also run a job board, so it's really tough for me to just start talking, breaking down another one. Some question, is it advisable available on request in the reference section? Yes. 3, yes, it is, if depending on how experienced you are. If you have no experience, put them up front. If a three-page CV, yes, it is too much. Is it advisable to help someone to write for CVs? Yes, find help, find a CV writer. Jobberman, for example, in Nigeria, and Whiteman, they've got CV writers, but you still have to review them. They'll help you with structure, they'll help you with wording, but the actual contents of your CV, it still has to be you. So yeah, that's it. Yeah. The LinkedIn one, I think it depends on your role, but that's a different question, right? What you need to that case is go and learn how to use LinkedIn and figure out the resources that they have for you and how best to position yourself in that platform. Oh, please, can I get a review of my CV? If you really want a review of your CV, and I really don't want to plug the organization, but reach out to Jobberman in Nigeria, they can help you. Whiteman in Uganda, I unfortunately cannot help you. Can you add a skill you're learning? You can write, I think typically to say in view or underway to your CV, but yeah. Secondary school or whatever to be included, it depends on experience. At my level, I don't include it anymore. If you're a fresh graduate, maybe it's important. But yeah. What distinguishes a CV and resume? To be honest, I think it's mostly language and like use of English, whether in America or in the UK, but they serve the same purpose. And these days, they're used interchangeably. Do I offer CV review services? The organization I'm from, Jobberman, yes, does offer CV review services. We also have a soft skills curriculum that's free for all people, and that it's actually available on MTN actually. And one of the things that you can do is to learn how to build a good CV. Are hobbies necessary? Not necessarily. You can see my own CV didn't have hobbies, but if you feel like it would be important, then slot it in. It depends. And just I wanted to show you something. Yeah. So this is my full CV. You look at all my personal details are in one tiny square, as you can see top here. Can you see? So where I'm from, my phone number, Gmail, date of birth, nationality, female, married. It's not taking up space. Can you see? Literally the same space as my name, the same space as my personal details. I'm trying to show you how you get it to one page. Qualification summary, professional experience. So my current role, managing director, that's like a few bullet points. Joe Nigeria CEO, a few bullet points. McKinsey and Company, Hempel, KPMG. The third page, which yes, I should take down, is mostly just my education. If I was to submit this now to an organization, I would definitely summarize. I'll take out this internship. This is not the most updated CV. I'll take out this internship, already compressing it. I'll reduce the number of projects I put for McKinsey because it's been a while. I don't need to put all these 5 projects anymore, and focus mostly on these last 2 roles that have experience for me. Probably reduce this one to 1 bullet point, and so make sure by the time I submit, these educational details are on the second page as well. So I'm also shocked by myself having a 3-page CV, but it should not be the case. And I would not submit this. If I was applying for a job today, I would make sure I make it knitted down to only 2 pages maximum, because I know, but attention fan perspective, nobody's getting down to the 3rd page. I think why this also works from the fact that given my experience, even if you just read half of the CV, you should get what you want, but not everybody is in this position. And I've been working for a while now, so if you've been working for even less time than me, 3 years of experience, I don't expect your CV to be this much, because even I believe my CV right now is too long. I'll not submit it this way. So some people, you find this personal details are taking a lot, like half a page. They shouldn't. Compress things, and make sure you can put it all in very concisely, single line as super like punchy, and compress it down to maximum 2 pages. Is a photograph an applicant necessary? I know it's not. I've never done it. Some people do. Actually, if anything, I'd encourage you not to, because that reduces the incidences of bias. Some people will want people to look a certain way, or they'll be biased because of your hair, or male versus female. So generally, it's encouraged not to put a photograph, and lots of organizations want blind CVs. Sometimes I see a photograph, like it means nothing to me, but that's just something I'll put for you out there to note. You're better off about it, just in case there's some sort of bias that could be activated by looking at your photo. I mean, they'll see your face when it comes to interview stage, so let your CV do the talking for now.
Hi, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I think we've exhausted all the questions. I don't think we have more questions. Thank you so much, Hilda, for a beautiful session. It was interactive, it was informative, and I'm sure we all got value from this session. So I believe that we have exhausted all the questions, like I said earlier. We're going to make this available on our YouTube page, that's MTN Nigeria's YouTube page. We're going to make the session available, so there's going to be a replay. However, you can also follow us on our LinkedIn platform, which is MTN Nigeria, so you can keep up with other fantastic sessions and initiatives like this. I would like to say a big thank you to Hilda and to Jobberman for doing this, and a big thank you to everyone that logged in and participated in this session. And we're happy to hear from you via our LinkedIn page as well.
Thank you, MTN team, and thank you, everybody. I've just read feedback where I was a bit fast. I'm really sorry, as I'm a natural fast speaker, but fortunately, this has been pre-recorded, so you can listen to it over and over again. Thank you.
All right, so bye everyone, and thank you for joining once more.
Bye.